As you can see, something's in progress here. It's crazy that this actually is happening. Right guys, so welcome back to another video. We're finally starting the Caddy RS project today. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited. But yeah, if you saw the build plan video, essentially we're taking the cheapest TTRS in the UK and combining it with the Volkswagen Caddy that's got 490,000 miles on it. Now all of this work is going to be taking place up at DDG Developments in Manchester. They're quite handy with 5-cylinder conversions and just generally custom work. We'll probably split it into a number of different episodes showing you the full process from start to finish. But yeah, without further ado, let's get cracking and make a start. Okay, so it's conversion day. We've got the TTRS on the ramp and the Caddy. We're backing it with Dawood, and we're also here with Lewis and Cass. But yeah, Dawood, I'll let you take it away and let us know what we're going to be starting with.
We're going to get all the running gear out of this car, everything we're going to need from it, such as the brake, suspension, gearbox, subframe. We're going to get it all transplanted into the Caddy. So today we're going to be essentially stripping both vehicles down, preparing everything that we need for the swap.
Is it the case with something like that where we leave the interior bits alone and we focus just on the engine bay for now?
We are going to leave the interior alone. We don't need to do a full loom swap. There is differences in the camber system, differences in the wiring, but we're going to tackle that once all the running gear's in, and we'll go from there. We know what we need to make it run, and then we'll find all our issues from there. There are certain things that we're going to have to do and add in, especially rewiring the fuse box, but we could do it.
This thing made it onto the ramp on its own power still, so the 490,000 mile Caddy still lives. We gave it one last rev as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, let's make a start on stripping them down. Right, so whilst these vehicles may look completely different, the teardown process is pretty much the same, with both of them sharing a number of similarities with the Mark V Golf. It's why this conversion is even possible in the first place. The approach of removing the engine was to disassemble the complete front end. So this comprises of the bumper, then removing the headlights, then removing the crash bar, and then also the rad pack, which was going to get swapped over to the Caddy. There's a fair bit in there. Thankfully, a bunch of the parts came off with these, so the stuff that was needed could be reused, and stuff that wasn't could be sold on at a later date. Both the engine oil and the gearbox oil were drained as well. Naturally, all of this was going to get refreshed with the build, but it was nice to see the current condition of the fluid just to give us an indication of things. Then it was time to remove the drive shaft, which, as demonstrated by Lewis here, requires a fair bit of force on a 490,000 mile Caddy. Straight as an arrow. Predictably, there was no such issues with the TTRS. Even the process of removing them is a lot simpler, which I'll show you later in the video. Next, it was time to drop the subframe. This is probably where the biggest difference is on a TT compared to its sibling vehicles. It seems to have this weird scaffolding frame at the front. Of course, it is some form of a strengthening brace, but it just looked very strange. The subframe itself was very similar to the other cars, so once that was loosened, the car was dropped down. We disconnected the steering rack and also the top mounts to allow for the full assembly to drop out. So yes, all of that is going to get transplanted into the Caddy. Brake, suspension, arms, bushes, a lot. It definitely looked pretty cool seeing this whole setup on the floor. Now all that was left was to disconnect the prop shaft, which powers the four-wheel drive system on the TTRS, which we're not going to be utilizing at this moment in time, and also the downpipe. And then we're pretty much ready to get the engine hoist in place in order to pull the engine on the TTRS. From here, you pretty much disconnect both the engine and gearbox mount and you're good to go. Unlike a number of other stuff out there, these VAG cars engines are pretty much supported by these two mounts, and even if you disconnect the subframe, it won't drop onto the floor. All in all, quite swiftly done. The same exact process was done for the Caddy, with the exception of there being no prop shaft because it's front wheel drive. But yeah, it's crazy how similar both of these assemblies look, but I guess that's just the way VAG Group does things.
Oh yeah. Bye, TDI.
Okay, so quick little service announcement. This will only take a second, so don't worry, I will put you back into the video very shortly. Just wanted to say, if you do enjoy content on this channel, make sure you do go ahead and subscribe. I set myself a little target of 200k subs this year, so it'd be pretty cool. And with more subscribers on board, the more interesting the builds can get. I mean, you take, for example, this Caddy RS project. A year ago, we weren't doing anything like this, so the more we grow, the better it'll be, and the more companies we can work with. But yeah, nonetheless, I appreciate the support every single one of you guys have given over the years to the channel. But without further ado, I'll stop talking now. Let's continue with this conversion. All right, so teardown's done of both the TTRS and the Caddy. As you can see, something's in progress here. Right, Dad, what's the plan then next?
We stripped the Caddy, the engine's ready to go back in. We've put the downpipe back on. Yep. Lewis has mocked us up an absolute mega clamp.
Yeah, we'll throw a little clip on the overlay there. We had a bit of a nightmare with the original one, but got sorted in the end. Yeah, I never knew that they had such a weirdly over-engineered clamp on these early Seekers.
Yeah. Huge, they're huge. The whole downpipe is huge, like the external side of the turbo. So we've cleaned the engine bay up.
Yep.
All of us, group effort, looking mint.
Yeah, done.
Ready to get the engine in now, start bolting things up, get the subframe back on, brakes back on, suspension legs in.
Now, a quick little recap if you haven't caught up on the last few videos we've done, explain the plans on this. This is staying front wheel drive for now, and we of course are sticking with manual. Later today we may go DQ500 and the Haldex system off the TTRS. So we'll keep that, but that requires a bit more modification with the floor, etc. So yeah, it's going to feel like a 5-cylinder powered GTI basically.
It's going to be good. I can't wait to have a drive of this.
Definitely, we go the
Nobody's ever done a manual.
It's crazy that this actually is happening. I've been filming this video looking through this little screen that everyone else is looking at, but looking at real life, like there's actually this 5 pots going in this caddy.
It's everywhere.
That's it, yeah, literally surrounded by them.
Home, the real home of the 5 pots.
We even had a makeshift 5-pot table over there. It's so in character. Legit, like, look at this. The camera gear is on top of another 5-cylinder. We put this little tray. Now that gearbox mount is past its sell by date, but I just checked and they're on back order, so I'll have to get a used one, but we'll get that sorted. Now getting the 5-cylinder engine into the engine bay of the Caddy did take a fair bit of shuffling around. Of course, it is that typical transverse layout, but there were a few tips and tricks that the guys at DDG have learnt over the years. We also removed the bonnet for a bit more access, but once that was done, it all pretty much went in. So those are threading in now into those mounts.
Yeah, they're in by hand, okay.
That's what we need.
If you look at it without a bonnet, it just looks insane. Like you're just sitting right there, the engine's so close. You always get that feeling that it's just far ahead of you, but realistically, it's right there. And also his legs are sticking out.
Your feet are underneath it.
Oh, they threaded in nice.
That one went in beautifully. Just need to take a little bit more weight off now if you can do it.
There we are, the engine crane's out.
It's in.
5-cylinder conveyed.
Oh no.
What's that?
Limited to first and second.
Trim the engine mount to get the gear shifting in properly.
So, slight bit of trimming.
Fixed.
So where we're up to now is we are just going to start laying the body loom for the Caddy in. For the RS engine. Okay, so the T14, T10 and the T4. They're all missing their wires. So this is what we have to remake. And then the body plug, we have to repin. The whole plug needs changing.
Right.
And so does every pin in there. Not one pin lines up. So we're going to move on to that slowly, but we'll just connect the power up to there now. We have the vacuum there, so when you get your valved exhaust down the line, you can still keep that.
Perfect. Now, unfortunately, the subframe on the TTRS had a few issues, namely the bolt in the middle was stuck. But thankfully, there is a spare subframe here off an RSQ3, which hopefully should be exactly the same. I'm going to test it out. So this is the RSQ3 subframe.
It's the RSQ3 one, yeah.
Cool. So it looks like it will do the job. Gonna transfer that over to the 8J assembly, which is what we've got here. I'm gonna keep the rest of it, and that should go straight up onto the Caddy. All right, so Caddy's up in the air with the 5-pot now. So all the clearances down here are pretty much the same then?
Yeah, I've had to manipulate a few pipes here and stretch the brackets to get things to fit, but there's nothing too far out. We're not doing too bad. Some of the pipe work running around the back of the ABS pump had to give it a bit of a nudge. Turbo is incredibly close to the brake booster. But that's just the best it's going to be. If you ever needed to take that turbo off, the engine would have to come out.
All right, so
close it is here at the where the intake is, and bear in mind when the dog bone mount is on like that.
yeah, it's gonna be. We've basically converted it to an old traditional Audi where it's engine out for everything. Part of the fun. Now that the 5-cylinder was fully secured into the engine bay of the Caddy and secured on both the gearbox and engine mounts, it was time to get the full RS subframe and arm assembly mated up to the Caddy. But yeah, just look how crazy that looks. Okay, so it's just line up the top mount now then.
Drop that.
Yeah, it's interesting with Caddies, it's just a bit more obscure than it is in like a usual hatchback. So I normally have a bit of a trim piece here, and you have to come through this gap here, so get at it, but the logic is the same. Passenger one is in progress. So basically the TTRS rad pack is going to go into the Caddy front panel.
Yes, it is. We're just going to modify a few things. It is going to fit. See how there's no intercooler on this pack, but you've got intercooler on that.
Yeah, because on the RS there's always a true front mount, isn't it? A bit like a GTI that one is, where it's sandwiched, even like the Mark 8R.
Got brakes on that.
Got brakes on as well.
Wheels on, we just push it out.
That's it, yeah. And get the RS wheels on today in the very first video. I bet some of you thought that was going to be about 4 or 5 videos away, but no, we'll get it done today. RS Q3 subframe, TTRS arms, all There.
Ready to go.
It literally looks like it was meant to be there from this shot over here.
It is meant to be there.
That's very true, yeah. 5 parts meant to be in there. I've just learned today that an RS drive shaft doesn't require
3 million bolts.
yes, turning it and tightening it. Gives me a bit of a PTSD from the S38P engine swap, well, engine change. But this apparently just clicks in. That makes life so much easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. The only thing that's nice about the other ones is it when you undo them, it doesn't drop all the gearbox oil.
Right.
Whereas these will drop gearbox oil, so you have to drop the oil first if you don't want to make a mess.
Right, okay.
What we want is to change the gearbox oil anyway.
One panel's gone on. I literally looked away for 1 second, Dowd, and you got this front panel back on.
Let's see, you know how we got it.
Yeah, crash bars back on. It's the original frame, of course, from the Caddy with the TTRS internals, let's say, as with the rest of it. Test fit, the TTRS rotor wheels on. Probably won't be the final look for it, but I can already see this is gonna look quite cool because those have been refurbed in like an anthracite color. The van's like a metallic blue. I'll let Cass do the honors. I can hold the camera. It's crazy how it looks like it's got less clearance on the caliper, even though it's the exact same, but everything's the same. Alright folks, I don't know about you, but that looks insane from here. It just looks so much more aggressive with these wheels because of the whole setup. It looks wide, really wide.
A-season.
A-season. Awesome. Full daily build.
That's it.
The whole idea with this van is that it's a full-on maxi to carry around goods, but when you turn the key, it's a TTRS. Because the plan with this was never to make it like a show car or race one, it was to carry parts around for videos. What, you reckon it's going to rub?
I don't reckon it is.
It's fine, we'll add some more camera into it.
Baseball bat out.
My golf fits somewhere like that.
Yeah.
I reckon it might tuck in at the top.
Yeah, they should be fine.
We'll have to just get wider wings otherwise. Oh yeah, there we go. It's not bad.
That looks unreal.
That looks amazing, that does, with the rotors.
Literally.
Yeah, look at this. The edge.
Loosen the wing bolts.
Yeah, loosen the wing bolts.
Yeah, create a bit of extra gap.
Put some LEDs down the inside.
This is absolutely insane, this is.
So tomorrow we've got to do the shifter.
Yep.
We need to put these secondary decap pipes on. We need to get the rest of the front end on, and then we'll start wiring.
Cool. Right, so I've just come into the office so I can film this outro, the 2 cars out there. We'll end this part 1 here now, so look out for the next video in a couple of days' time on getting the wiring done, get attempted to start the van up as well, and various other bits that we need to do. Yeah, make sure you subscribe if you are new here, drop a like on the video, follow my Instagram, it's @TRHams_. But yeah, I'll stop talking now, and I'll see you in a few days' time.